Josh Heupel said that Nico made it hard to find another quarterback in the portal. That gets a big duh. I'm sure it definitely was, because he's sitting there as the entrenched starter for 2024 and may play a lot, from what I'm told, in the Citrus Bowl. But I also think there's something to be said. I don't think Josh Heupel wants to go the portal route anymore. I mean, he had Hooker, that worked out. May have misjudged that and playing Milton over him, but I think he wants a guy that he can develop, because when it comes to footwork and some of the things they do, it's unique to his system. So I agree that Nico makes it hard, Josh, but I don't know that Josh Heupel wants quarterbacks in the transfer portal. I think he wants his own guys like Merklinger to bring up in the system.
Yeah, maybe. I've been on the side of go find a veteran quarterback.
I agree.
There's the NIL budget idea. Well, if you're going to get a veteran that understands he's the backup, that's not a big cost. So I still think it's a little scary. I mean, when we talk about the offensive line, they better protect, because if Nico goes down next season, there goes the conversation we just had about, well, there's your potential, with Nico, because I don't know that Merklinger's the backup at the start of the season. I can't. I would bet against that, in fact. So I'm a little surprised that they haven't last year or this year been able to go out and find a veteran quarterback who understands his role. There's so many players out there, and I'm sure Nico makes it difficult. But to go get that would be to go get a more established, big potential player. We saw Ole Miss go make a run at multiple quarterbacks last year with Jackson Dart already in place. Look at what Oregon has done. So I'm sure it's harder. It's definitely not impossible, because we're seeing other schools go find some help. And again, we're not talking about getting a Nico level talent. Alabama brought in Tyler Buckner, who ended up not really playing well for them. Now he's not even going to play football. He's going to go play lacrosse, going back to Notre Dame. But they still had a little extra experience, somebody to count on in the room. And I would want that if I'm Josh Heupel.
Well, Josh,
I agree.
I'm sorry, but I would want that too, but I think there's a difference, and I think Tennessee should be happy about it, which is, look, yes, Tyler Buckner, when he committed to Alabama, he committed because he thought he'd get a fair chance he thought he'd get a shot to start, because Ty Simpson didn't pan out, and everybody who had eyes thought Jalen Milroe was awful last year. And turns out, looks like that may have been more Bill O'Brien's fault than Jalen Milroe's fault. But I think that with Nico, I think a lot of these veterans that go look elsewhere, they do look in hopes of having a fair chance to start. And I don't even know if it's fair. I think rumblings are out there that Nico is just that good. And unless he gets hurt, you're not going to have a shot. I mean, I got to be honest. Let's not forget. Taven Jackson hit the portal within a week of Nico taking part in bowl practices last year. Mm-hmm. That wasn't a coincidence. He saw how good Nico was, and he said, I'm never going to beat this guy to start, so I'm out of here. I think those are where the rumblings are across the country right now, which is, I think everybody knows that Nico is that good. What do you think about my thoughts on that?
Oh, I definitely think that's the case. That's why I attached with it veteran quarterbacks who would be happy to be a backup, a quarterback that's been in college that understands, maybe I'll get a chance to help, but if you want to be a coach in the future, if that's something that you're interested in, attaching yourself to Josh Heupel's staff would be of value. A better example in recent years would be somebody like Hunter Johnson, who was a very highly touted quarterback, actually committed to Tennessee at one point, went to Clemson, didn't work out there. Here comes Trevor Lawrence. I'm out of here, went to Northwestern. He went back to Clemson to finish out his college time. And, I think it was a valuable piece to add to the room. I want to be clear here. I'm not talking about going out and getting Malachi Nelson from USC to come to Tennessee. I'm not talking about that level player with big aspirations. I'm talking about a quarterback that understands what his role would be coming into the program. Insurance. This is what we're talking about here, not big-time potential player. So anybody that wants to be the guy that wants to start and would come in and compete is not going to look at Tennessee as that kind of place. But somebody that could be of value to be in the room with Nico and to be able to help in case injury occurs. Maybe we've talked about this guy. He ended up leaving to go be a starter, but at one point, Gardner Minshew, who's playing in the NFL right now, was content with going to Alabama to be a backup quarterback. That level, he was at a smaller school. That kind of quarterback is what I'm talking about. Not a guy that's been at a Power 5 that is looking at one more shot to be the guy, that you're not going to get that. But somebody that understands, yeah, I'm going to go be the backup, and I'm going to be around an offense that's really good at a big-time program in the SEC. And if something happens and they need somebody to help, I can be that guy.
Yeah, but Josh, I see what you're saying, but at the same time, I would put myself in a position of being a possible backup or starting at a smaller school, and I'd rather play. I mean, I understand what you're saying. Coaches used to always say they want.
Well, they're not
one
going to go get those.
quarterback.
I'm talking about players who would be okay. Like that has to be on their list of okay, I'll be a backup at Tennessee. I'll be a part of a big time program. Anybody that wants to start is not coming to Tennessee. That's not what I'm talking
Right.
about.
But my question is how many of those dudes are out there? Because coaches used to want to get a quarterback in every single class. But now with the transfer portal, I mean, I'd rather go someplace to play. Me personally, you may be different. Caleb may be different. Kids may be different. I'd rather go someplace and play and know that I had an opportunity to play as opposed to go to a Tennessee that has better facilities. That's me personally. I'd rather play. I think it's a hard sell to tell a guy that, hey, you're gonna come in and be a Trent Dilfer type.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it is. That's Josh Heupel's job is to find out who that is. I don't have access to the portal. I don't know all the quarterbacks out there, but I just gave you some examples of guys who were content with that. So I'm not coming up with some fictitious idea. I'm talking about guys that have done that they have had a chance to start, didn't necessarily work out, and they realized, hey, being a backup is a better option for me. Isn't that how Lane Kiffin ended his college career? He decided to continue playing, knowing he wouldn't be the starter, but he wanted to be a coach someday. So he hung around to get that kind of experience, being around, was it Tedford's staff at Fresno? Am I correct in that? But anyway, that's how Lane ended up his time. He wasn't going to play, but he wanted to be a coach in the future. So those are the kinds of guys that I'm talking about. And the amount of players that are out there should be able to find out who those guys are. Josh Heupel might, I mean, it appears he has a different idea than I do, but I just I worry if Nico gets hurt. I don't know what Tennessee does. Now, I'll say this: we've talked about this guy in the past. I would not have started Gaston Moore over Joe Milton. You're aware of that, but maybe Josh Heupel is.
I wouldn't have either.
Maybe he's more comfortable than I'm aware. If something happens with Nico with going to Gaston, I'm sure that's not going to make a lot of the viewers right now comfortable, but. I think he's probably the backup quarterback, not Jake Merklinger, at least early in the season.
I think there's spring at least, and that's going to be a heck of a spring game. People are going to be excited to see Nico. I think there is a seismic shift in roster building and the upper levels of college football, and I want to get to that. Brought to you by the Hemp House, the premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, a great selection, and strict standards to ensure you only receive the best in CBD or Delta products. Go to Hemp House Chat with 2 T's, hemphousechat.com. Use the promo code HOOKED and get 10% off. Here are my thoughts on that. I think my son goes to UMass. I think of Marcus Canby. They still have a section there. They don't even know that Dr. J played there, I don't think, but that's okay. And then you have the guy was it for Cincinnati that looked like Method Man. Josh, you'll remember this.
Kenyon Martin.
Yes, Kenyon Martin got hurt right before the NCAA tournament. I think that's where you're going to be with quarterbacks. Like you're going to load up and you're going to get one special guy, and if he gets hurt midway through the season, fans are just going to have to be understanding because you're not going to have a great backup. That sounds awful, but I just think with the transfer portal, that's where college football is headed with most programs.
Yeah, I think that's more often going to happen. Sometimes you have to be lucky in having the right kind of backup. Having a Cardell Jones available to come in is unlikely. It was unlikely when it happened for Ohio State, but they won a national title with him being able to step up. But that doesn't mean you don't try to go get some help. Like I'm not aware of how much effort there is to go get help last year or this year. If the idea of just being resigned to, well, we have Nico, so we can't go find somebody, that's not going to fly with me. So yeah, if you try and you just get turned down by a bunch of guys, then okay. But I don't know how much effort there is, honestly. So just saying, well, it's tough. We got Nico. Okay, yeah, I get it. But
you definitely don't throw in the towel. I don't want to give you that impression.
yeah,
It's
so
programmed to. It's also it's case by case because we're talking Cardale Jones, but Ohio State was loaded with NFL talent all over the field when Cardale Jones stepped in. Whereas Tennessee is we're kind of
yeah, but
I'm not
Cardale
saying
versus
Josh
Gaston
Heupel's-
Moore, who are we taking in this argument?
Yes, obviously Cardale in that moment. But what I'm saying is I'm not comparing Josh Heupel to what's his face, Gene Chizik at all, but I'm saying Tennessee's in a situation where they're going to be disproportionately dependent on Nico next year, similar to how Auburn was disproportionately dependent on Cam Newton in 2010. And so I think that as long as Josh Heupel's future as a offensive coach, who is a quarterback whisperer, he's going to be dependent on his quarterback more. So Urban Meyer could, again, he won a national title with Chris Leak, who was not that good that year. Okay, so I mean, because Florida was loaded with talent everywhere else. So I think Florida, Ohio State, Georgia's of the world, Alabama's, they could probably mix in and out quarterbacks a little better than a Tennessee's going to be able to, which is going to have to go all in on their quarterback. And they're just not going to have the option of if their quarterback gets hurt, it's just going to be tough break if you're Tennessee. It's like when Peyton Manning got hurt with the Colts. Not that bad, but
yeah, for sure. If Nico goes down, Tennessee is in big trouble. I mean, so I don't think it. Yeah, that's why I'm stressing. I would be trying to find somebody that can help. By the way, part of this is a compliment to Josh Heupel when I talk about trying to go find somebody. When I said if you want to be a coach in the future, if you want to be a part of the program, if you're a quarterback, being connected to Josh Heupel is more valuable than most coaches in the country. So Josh Heupel himself should be a selling point to a veteran quarterback that would be happy or comfortable coming in to serve in a backup role to help a young, talented quarterback. Josh Heupel's pitch should largely be based around, hey, if you want to be a part of this game in the future, not as a player, but as a coach, let me help you. I would be very interested if I'm a veteran quarterback, not planning to start, but to be a part of the game beyond my college career. I would want to learn from Josh Heupel. I would want to be around him and his program. His quarterback that he had at UCF, whose career unfortunately ended because of his knee injury, where did he decide to go this past year? He decided to come to Knoxville to be a part of what Tennessee's doing. So part of it is a huge compliment. It's praise to Josh Heupel for how good of a coach he is and how respected he is as an offensive mind.
A lot of people don't know that Josh Ward was a very talented rapper back in his day, known as Jaw Ward. So can you finish this line for me? And that is METHOD. No? Man, you didn't get into Method Man back in the day?
A little bit. I liked Wu-Tang. I don't know the exact line that you're referencing or the song.
Yeah, it's a line where he just spells his first name and then says his last name. It's be like JOSH Ward. JOSH Ward. It's a great song.
I love Notorious. That one? That's good.
Beautiful. All right, Josh, have a fantastic day, weekend, and a very Merry Christmas to you. You're a blessing to Off the Hook Sports, and we greatly appreciate it. And nothing but the best for you and your beautiful family.
Yep. Same to you guys. Same to everybody watching and listening. Appreciate y'all.